Hello and welcome to our fair about community colleges this evening. Moving on to our next slide, please. So this event this evening is a short webinar about making the most of the virtual community colleges fair that is being held this Saturday. We are delighted that you could join us and look forward to giving you an overview of what is a community college, and then giving you some information about how to make the most of the fair coming up this evening, this weekend. Next slide. So you might be wondering who we are. My name is Rowena. I'm an EducationUSA advisor. My job is to help students discover how to discover US higher education, discover finding a good fit college for them and their aspirations, and then to provide advice and help through the application process for students. So EducationUSA is an incredible service that offers free and unbiased advice to international students around the world to help them study at a US university. I studied at a US university. I'm from the UK, and my opportunity to go and study in the US totally changed my life, and I'm really glad I had that experience, and I'm so grateful to be able to do a job now that helps other people have that opportunity too. So there's more than 600 advisors in 400 centres around the world. So wherever you're tuning into this webinar from, there's likely to be an EducationUSA advisor in your country available and there to help you through this process. Next slide. So, quick overview of why some of the common reasons why international students choose to study in the US. And it's a question I get a lot when I'm working with students along the way. Next. And these are some of the top reasons that I see over and over again, international students choosing to go and study in the US. So the US and its higher education universities and colleges offer an incredible variety of different experiences to study at, but also have incredibly strong reputations for amazing teaching, brilliant learning experiences, and incredible campus life as well. So that reputation and the variety of different schools available make the US very attractive, as does that campus life and those experiences to get involved, to stand up for the things you believe in, to join the student clubs that you want to join, and to have a full experience of living in the United States is a big factor as well, and something that we see students over and over again keen to experience. For many students and many international students, the flexibility that a US college offers is an incredibly attractive factor in looking at US universities. From where I'm from in the UK, we have a very strict high school curriculum with very strict senses of what you can and can't study, and our university system is set up in the same way, so you have to choose what you want to study when you go to university. Whereas in the US, students have a lot more flexibility to discover their passions, to try out different classes, and to discover things that they're really good at over the course of their degree. Another big factor is funding opportunities. Again, this can often be a conversation that we have a lot with students that we're working with. Funding is a big piece of studying anywhere, and US universities and colleges often have generous funding opportunities available to help make your dreams of studying in the US happen. Another big reason that students tell me that they want to study in the US is to help their employment prospects, to help them progress their careers, to stand out in the job market, and certainly a US degree can really help that. And then finally, it's that opportunity to discover the US, to learn about what it's like to live there, to see beyond the movies, and to have the experience of studying in a different country and discovering all the different things that come with that is a big attraction as well. Next slide. So our Saturday's fair is going to be focusing in on something called community colleges, and we are so excited to have more than 30 community colleges attending from across the United States, and they're here to meet all of you amazing international students. So what is a community college, and let's get started there next. So community colleges are a really unique part of US higher education. Most countries don't have this system, but in the US it's very common to have what is called a community college. Community colleges are all over the US, so they're from big cities right the way through to rural areas, college towns, suburban areas. Each of these locations will have community colleges, and they are centres of higher education learning that offer high quality learning experiences and are beyond high school. So they offer something called an associate's degree. So you can have two types of degree offered by a community college, either an Associates of Arts or an Associates of Science degree. And these are 2 years of study leads you to an associate's degree. And many American students will go through a community college and end up with their associate's degree in a particular area. Community colleges offer a wide range of classes and all sorts of different programs, including technical and vocational programs, as well as all of the kind of standard academic programs that you might be expecting. Next slide, please. So something that happens with community colleges for some students and for many students, and particularly for international students, is one of these attractions can be to use a community college to do 2 years of higher education before doing something called transferring to a 4-year institution. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the idea that a bachelor's degree in the United States is 4 years long, and that means 4 years studying at one institution. It means 4 years of cost along the way as well. Many of the community colleges have special agreements that they develop, particularly with universities that are local to them, for these special agreements to help students transfer from the community college after their associate's degree and into the 4-year university. These agreements are called 2+2 programs, and what it means is that the student can take their credit that they've accumulated at the community college, take those 2 years of credits and move into the 4-year university and join in the 3rd year of that 4-year degree. So skipping 2 years because they've been able to transfer the credit, join in the 3rd year, spend those next 2 years specialising in a particular major, and graduate with a bachelor's degree in the course of 4 years, 2 years at the community college and 2 years at the 4-year university. So it's a great way to be able to earn that bachelor's degree. And why is this often interesting? It's a way of getting a really strong GPA, which is the way that the American system measures academic achievement, to build up a really nice strong GPA to help that transfer process and to help that transfer of credit. And also it can also dramatically lower the cost of a bachelor's degree as well. This is just something to be aware of along the way. So what are these advantages for international students of attending a community college? First of all, they're often leading centres for learning and use of technology, so things like robotics, computer science, all sorts of technology in the classroom. Often community colleges are leading the way in the US higher education sector, so the facilities are often incredibly well thought out and incredibly well resourced at a community college. They offer small class sizes, so really supportive atmosphere. So if you're an international student moving to the United States for the first time, perhaps learning to study in a slightly different way, then a community college can be a great fit to provide that really supportive environment to help you find your feet and to be a really successful student and hopefully come out of a bachelor's degree with a really strong grade at the end of it. Community colleges often have really flexible admissions policies. So you'll find that community colleges will normally ask that you have completed your country's high school curriculum, however that is measured, but you won't find them asking for admissions exams. You won't find them asking for kind of academic requirements necessarily. So you'll find that they have very flexible admissions policies, more so than four-year universities. And then they're very attractively priced. When you study at a community college, you pay, depending on the number of classes you take, rather than an all-in-one cost of attendance fee that you will often see at a four-year university. So again, from a kind of pricing perspective, can be an incredibly cost-effective way of earning that bachelor's degree at the end of it. And then finally, if you're from a country where English is not your first language, you'll also find that community colleges have incredible support for people who are working in English as their second language. So again, helping you raise those language skills along the way. Next. So how do you go about finding the right college for you, especially given there are thousands of them out there? So this is a really big question that I get asked a lot. So the first thing that I would suggest to you is having a think about what do you want from your university experience. If you're here, you're probably thinking, I would like to study in the United States, or I'm interested in finding out more about studying in the United States, which is a great starting point. So now it's going to be starting to think about what other things are you interested in. So this could be what kind of, what you might like to major in at a bachelor's degree, because if you're interested in majoring in business, that's going to be, you might be looking at different schools than if you are interested in majoring in, say, engineering or computer science. You might be thinking about the cost of living and how expensive is it to live somewhere. So studying in the middle of Manhattan is going to be a lot more expensive than studying in, say, Michigan, for example, where the cost of living is lower. You might be thinking that there are particular sports that you're interested in playing while you're alongside your studies. So you might be thinking about that. And then you might also be thinking about a community college and if it has particular links with certain universities. So that might be a factor that is important to you. There's lots of different factors out there. Everyone will have their own things that they need to take into account and the things that they're looking for. So it's a case of starting to think about what's important to you and making that list so that you can start to evaluate the different colleges against your list. Next. So I'd really encourage you to think about how you do your college research. And the great news is if you're coming to Saturday's event, it can be a perfect way to find and research different colleges. We've got 30 colleges coming on Saturday from all across the United States. And so they can be a really great place to come along and meet the representative from those colleges and ask them questions. So you can ask them about what it's like to be an international student on their campus. What kinds of classes do they offer? How does transferring from their college work if you want to get a bachelor's degree? How much does it cost to attend their university or their college? All of these things are questions that you can ask in that research mode. But I'd really encourage you to spend that time on researching different colleges and spend the time kind of getting familiar with what you're looking for, because that will be really helpful. Other places you can find and do college research. A great place to start is the college's own website. There's a whole load of information there. You could also have a look at the college's social media pages. You'll find lots of information there. And of course, you can contact your EducationUSA team in your country so that you can connect with them and see what advice they have for students from your country to join. And if you're in the UK, either I or my colleague Holly or my colleague Sarah will be very happy to help you. Next. So another set of questions we get a lot about is about funding studies in the United States, and particularly when we think about funding community college study. And again, this is a great set of questions to be asking the representatives on Saturday about how to fund degrees and what scholarships or other financial aid they may or may not offer. So you'll find that community colleges will base their prices on a per class or per credit hour basis. So they will let you know how much it will cost to take the number of classes, and you can then calculate how much it will cost to attend that university. What you will want to think about is how many classes you might be taking at any one time. You want to have a good look at the college's website, where all of this information will be held. And you can also have a look out for international student pages. So many of the colleges will have pages, especially for international students, and about costings. And some of them will give you an indication of what the cost per year at the college will be. So it's a really great way to engage and find out more about that. You can also then find out information about various scholarships that may be open to you, and definitely have a look at those as you go. Next. So we get a lot of questions about how to fund study in the United States. And so these are some of the sources of funding to have a think about. You want to think about what resources are available to you and your family to help your journey to studying in the United States, and having conversations about that as a family. You'll also want to have a look at a US university and discover if there is funding available. So for the colleges that are coming on Saturday, they may well have scholarships or other opportunities, other financial aid that can help cover the cost of studying at a US college. So definitely have a look at those. You may find that there are what we call here external funding bodies that can help with covering the cost of college. So depending on the country you live in, you may find that your government has grants available to help you study in the United States. So definitely connect with your local Education USA Centre if you're not sure about how that works. And you may find that there are other organisations, charities, foundations in your country that can help provide funding towards studying in the United States as well. So definitely connect up with your local Education USA team to find out more. And then finally, you may be able to take out some form of student loans. So in some countries, a student loan program exists that you can take funding with you to the United States. Again, check with your local Education USA team for more information. Or you may find that you can take out commercial loans to help the cost of studying as well. But we'd always just caution, make sure if you're thinking about taking out loans that you've explored other options and kept open-minded to the different options available, and explored the different universities that are available. Next. Okay, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Holly, who is also from the UK, and she is going to share with you a little bit more about making the most of community colleges fair.
Absolutely, thank you, Rowena. So as Rowena mentioned, my name is Holly Haig, and I am also an Education USA advisor here in the UK. I've also been in many of your shoes because I did my bachelor's degree in the US and can really speak to that transformative experience that US study brings to international students. And so I'm really excited that all of you are going to be joining us on Saturday. So before we dive right into some top tips on how to make the most of community colleges fair, I'm actually going to share my screen and give you all a sneak preview into what the event platform will look like on Saturday, just so that you can get to grips with it and get a sense of how you're going to connect with the different community college reps on the weekend. Okay, so the event platform that we'll be using looks a little bit like this. And so I'm actually going to turn off my video just for a second so you can see the full screen. And so, yeah, so you'll go into the event, into this reception area, and along the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see all of the main areas of the event, which I'll walk you through in just a moment. But I also want to pull your attention to this tab just out here. And you can actually go in and see the event chat. So in here, we'll be posting resources about different sessions that are happening throughout the event. You'll also might be able to find some advice if you're unsure where to go. You can connect up with an EducationUSA advisor who will better be able to help you. So that, just to give you an example, if I were to type hello, it would come up in this whole event chat just here. So that's just how you go ahead and use that event chat. And see, Rowena has come in and said, check out the upcoming session on advantages of community college. So that is a really great place to check if you're unsure about where you want to go during the fair. Another great way to bring the platform to life and to connect with reps, especially if you perhaps aren't using a device that has video capabilities, is to go in and add a photo of yourself to your profile. You can do this by clicking here, clicking edit profile, and you can upload a photo of yourself and your name and any other links that you'd like to. So I'd recommend that you do that to make the platform more interactive. I'm now going to show you the different areas of the event that you'll spend some time in. First up is the stage. This is where you'll go for the opening remarks at the beginning of the event for the welcome. And you'll also be able to find general videos, introductory videos about community colleges to refer to throughout the day. It's a really great starting point. Since all of you are tuning in today, you likely have some of that background already. So you may wish to go straight into either the info sessions or the community colleges area. I'll first of all show you the community colleges area because this is where you'll spend most of the time at the fair. So if we go into the community colleges area, this is where you'll find all of the community colleges, the 30 community colleges who'll be joining us on Saturday. And so you can scroll down to have a look at those. And these will be available throughout the entire event, so from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. UK time. And we'd encourage you to double check what those timings look like where you are. So just to give you some tips on using this, you can use this search bar at the top to find particular universities of interest. So you might search for Butler College in California, or you might use these location filters just here to narrow down community colleges in areas that you're particularly interested in. So if you would like to study in the Midwest, for example, you can go ahead and filter down all those colleges that are in the Midwest. So that might be one filter that you use, as Rowena was talking about, to narrow down your options and really do that university and community college research. So I'm now going to go ahead and give you an example of how you'll actually connect with a community college rep. So I'm going to go into Los Medanos College to give you an example of this. So if I click in here, I can see that Rowena is actually up on screen. And so if Rowena was the rep for Los Medanos College, I could actually click on this share audio and video button, check all my settings are okay, and hit apply. And I will come up on screen and talk with Rowena directly and ask her my questions about Los Medanos College. I also want to draw your attention to this area just here, again on the right-hand side. So earlier we had this event chat where Rowena and I were talking about different offerings to explore, but we also have this booth chat, which is specific to Los Medanos College in this case. And so we can see a chat area where I could ask Rowena a question in the chat. Can you tell me about 2 + 2? So I might ask Rowena, in the chat if perhaps my audio is not working or anything like that. And Rowena might also post any support or resources there for me as well to refer to at my leisure. But I also want to take you back to this home tab. So here you'll see a sort of overview about the different community colleges. And you can also click on this big blue button just here to share your details with reps if you would like to follow up with them. So you can go ahead and click on that and it'll bring it out onto a separate tab. And you can go ahead and put in your email address or anything like that if you'd like to keep in touch with the community college reps after the fair. So that's a really great way to show your interest to the community colleges and to keep in touch. Okay, so thank you so much for your help, Rowena. I'm going to head out of the session, and to do that, I just click this leave button up here. And there I go. And it's worth noting as well that sometimes reps might be up on screen how Rowena is at the minute presenting a session, and you can go ahead and listen in and ask any questions in the chat as well. All right, so I'm now going to go back to the Community Colleges Fair and explore another booth. And that's how that kind of works. So we also have this other area called info sessions. Throughout the day, there will be a series of information sessions taking place on different elements to do with community colleges. So just on screen, we have an example about a session that's going to take place called Student Life at a Community College. So once again, if I wanted to click in and enter that, I would simply just do a click here. And once again, I can see Rowena is up on screen presenting a great presentation about student life at a community college. Once again, whereas we've got the event chat just here, we've then also got the info session chat just here on the right. So I might ask, can I get involved in sports at a community college? And so this area of the event is more going to be participating in the chat, and it's going to be a more kind of lecture style, a little bit more like this webinar we have tonight. But the community colleges area is a lot more interactive and a lot more space for you to have a real conversation with the reps. Okay, so I think that is a big overview. I'm going to wave goodbye to Rowena now. That is a bit of an overview about what to expect at the fair on Saturday. And now I'm just going to go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint and share just a couple of top tips on sort of how we can best support you in terms of making the most of your time during the fair. So first and foremost is to really get prepared. And I think Rowena will put in the chat, if possible, some links that will help you with that. So we have got, as we've mentioned today, 30 community colleges attending, and we have a list of those that all of you should have been able to access in advance. And so you'll be able to, if you want to, go in and have a look at the website of these colleges, figure out what programs they offer, what extracurricular offerings they have, so that you have a little bit of a sense of where it is that you might like to go and have a chat with on Saturday and where you want to learn more. As I also showed you in the info sessions and panel area, we have a series of different seminars taking place throughout the day on different topics. So that might be on the benefits of a community college. It might be, community colleges and their myths. What is the expectation versus reality? As well as that transfer process of the 2+2 model. So we'd really encourage you to have a look at that schedule, figure out, okay, which sessions would I like to attend and which colleges would I like to visit and talk with, so that you can best plan your time out in advance and make sure that you get to do all of the things that you'd like to. Okay, so that's sort of before the fair. And then on the day, a couple of pieces to look out for. So in terms of accessing the fair, all of you who are tuning in have likely registered for the fair. If you haven't yet, please note that the registration process for this webinar tonight is separate from the registration for the fair itself. So please make sure that you've definitely registered. And once we've received your registration, tomorrow afternoon, you will receive an email from the platform that I've just showed you with your access link. And so I'd really encourage you to keep that in a safe place and add it to your calendar. And if it doesn't come straight through to your inbox, definitely double check any junk folders or spam folders, because it might have gone through to the wrong place in your inbox. And you'll just click on that link and that will take you to the fair when it's time to start. Also on the day, you might want to think a little bit more about your background and where it is. So we encourage you to make sure you're in a quiet place where you feel comfortable talking and sharing, because as you've just seen, in an ideal world, you'll be able to come up on screen and speak directly with reps. So make sure that you are in a space where you're able to do that. Also a good idea to charge the device that you'll use before the fair and have a charger handy just in case. You don't want to be low on battery partway through talking with a community college rep. In terms of preparation as well, we'd also recommend bringing a notepad with you. It often helps to make some physical notes using pen and paper and do things the old school way, especially while you're talking to someone on screen. And so it's a good way to, jot down some ideas and some things that you liked and learned about that you can take a look back on and reflect after the fair. In a similar vein, you might want to prepare some questions. So once you've had a look at the seminar schedule and you've had a look at which colleges are going to be attending, you might have some general questions that are specific to your circumstances, but you also might have some specific ones that are to do with the particular community colleges who are going to be attending. So I'd highly encourage you to have a think about what's important to you, and it factors into that idea of choosing and fit that Rowena was talking about before. Okay, so then once you're at the fair, really top tip from us is to ask questions to the reps. And please, if you have, the ability to come up on screen and put your camera and audio on, I really, really encourage you to do that in order to connect with the reps. They are very friendly people who are really enthusiastic about their community colleges, and that, they're not here to catch you out or trip you up. They're very much here to support you. So don't be shy, and please, do turn on your camera if possible so that you can connect. Once again, we'll have the seminar sessions throughout the day to learn more about community colleges, so definitely check those out alongside the community college booth areas. And also we encourage you just to broaden your search a little bit. Visit the booths of at least 5 colleges that you've not previously considered or perhaps haven't heard of yet. That might be a college in an area of the US that you've not considered studying in before, or simply one that you're not familiar with. We really encourage you to, step out of your comfort zone a little bit and explore the wide range of community college offerings that will be attending the fair. Okay, and then finally, when it comes to speaking to reps, remember that they are here to help you and they are real experts in their community colleges. So really don't feel afraid to go and have a chat with them and ask any questions. There's no such thing as a wrong question or a silly question, because that's exactly what they're here to help you with. As I showed you in the demonstration, you can also register your interest by clicking on the button that is on the right-hand side of the booths. So if you do want to follow up with a community college, or if you'd like to hear more information from them about upcoming events or anything like that, be sure to click on that button and then to share your contact information with reps. They might remind you to do this, but it's always good practice to be sharing your information if you want to learn more. Okay, so I think that covers off some of the main points from Rowena and I am going to invite Rowena back up on screen to join me. And so those, that's sort of the highlights from us. And what we would encourage you to do is, if you do have any additional questions, for you to pop those in the Q&A box, and Rowena and I will help you to answer those before we wrap up this evening.
Great stuff. So we've got a question about sharing some of the links that we were showing. So I've popped into the chat box some of the links about the list of colleges who are attending the Community College Fair. So please do check those out. If you just scroll down the page, you'll find all 30 of them. And we've also shared this session schedules for the fair, so you can see when we're holding the different sessions and what the different sessions are and which schools will be helping us answer all your questions during the fair. And the link that Holly was showing you with the actual fair platform, you will be getting that link tomorrow. We are so excited to send that to you, and you'll find you come through to the registration page for the event, and then you will find that you log on to the event at the time on the day, and you will be able to access everything that Holly was showing you. So we've given you a preview, but unfortunately it's not open yet to share with everybody yet, but Saturday it will be open.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Okay. Rowena, I can see a question coming through about funding community colleges. So is there sort of an average cost of attendance or an average price associated with courses at community colleges, or will that look differently depending on the school?
Great question. So different community colleges will charge different amounts. So the best thing to do is to talk to each representative and to find out about the different costs available to the different costs that each community college has. So you can have a look individually at each college. I can see there's another question that asks how many community colleges are there in the United States, and that's a really good question. I think there's probably more than probably in the thousands range. I don't have the exact answer, but there are 4,500 colleges and universities across the United States, and many of those are community colleges. So I feel safe in saying we're in the thousands, but the exact number I don't have. The great news is we've got 30 of them attending the fair on Saturday from across the United States. So it should give you a really good flavour and feel for the options available to you. Holly, I have a question for you. In terms of attending the fair on Saturday, should students come at the beginning, or can they come at any time they like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the platform will open at 2:30 p.m. UK time, but it's going to be available for you for the whole 3 hours of the fair. So you can drop in whenever suits your schedule, and the reps will be there eager and waiting to answer your questions in their booths. But I would say that if you are interested in attending particular information sessions that are taking place, you might want to plan your time around those to make sure that you're arriving into the virtual platform ahead of time so that you don't miss out on them.
Brilliant stuff. Great, and we've had another question come in about using that 2+2 model, that transfer model to transfer to perhaps a different university, perhaps one in another country. And the best advice I have here is the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to the community college and understand how that works and what advice they might have for you. And then you'll also want to if you've got a particular university in mind, let's say it's one in Europe, perhaps you've got a particular university in mind, you would also want to contact that university and establish whether they would accept that transfer of credit. Within the US, transferring credits is very normal, normal thing to do, but it depends on the country that you're looking at and the university that you're looking at. for that transfer and whether they accept it. So I would encourage, if you are thinking about something like that, depending on the country and depending on the university, it may well be possible, but just do your homework, do your research before you embark on that process. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Holly and I have loved meeting you all and loved sharing a little bit of information about Saturday's Fair. We cannot wait to meet you, and I know that the reps from the different colleges are so excited to meet you on Saturday. So we look forward to seeing you there. From us, from London, we're going to sign out now, but have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye.
Bye everyone. See you on Saturday.